Good evening, everyone. The federal government continues to accord priority attention to refineries across the industry, public and private, with a helping hand. A pronouncement in this direction about Dangote refinery is captured in the phrase "you are not alone," while the Ministry of Petroleum Resources puts in place a landmark blueprint covering the next 4 years. Honorable Minister of State is urging for collaboration to actualize the deliverables. Also trending are the stories of efficiency in workplaces and commitment to healthy workplace following from GMD Melekiari's pronouncements. The GMD was also in Lagos to visit key stakeholders and facilities, even as the Lagos Chamber of Commerce applauds the corporation's enablers role. And it's a seemingly balanced situation about oil demand on the global scene. OPEC is looking beyond 2020 to project when the decline will happen and where the growth in the demand will take place. Sluggish economic performance and continued efficiency improvements, that's what OPEC calls it. There's nothing between you and the details except the break. I'm Akin Agbejule. This is Oil and Gas Forum.
As you all know, NNPC is an enabler for the nation's economy. And as well as it is encapsulated in your mission, which is to add value to the nation's hydrocarbon resources for the benefit of all Nigerians and other stakeholders, we have seen this mission reflected in the recent discovery of crude oil and gas in the Coleman River 2 well on the Upper Benue Tro Gongola Basin.
Apart from the obvious financial benefits which I'm currently enjoying, as well as my siblings who are also enjoying the scholarship fund that has been put for me, there was a lot of confidence and moral boost in winning that competition, because you start looking at other exams and other competitions with an easier outlook that if you can go for it, you can win. And up to now, I still have that feeling that any exam I write, I can succeed in it after winning the national quiz competition.
NNPC, we touch your lives in many positive ways.
The federal government has pledged to support the 650,000 barrels per day capacity Dangote refinery and petrochemicals plant with crude oil feedstock and other necessary inputs for the success of the project. Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief Timipre Silva, made this known during a tour of the Dangote refinery being constructed by the Dangote Group in Lagos. The minister, who was accompanied on the facility tour by the Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC), Malam Melekiari, and other members of the corporation's top management, said it was necessary to support the Dangote refinery project to ensure its successful completion in order to realize the federal government's aspiration.
In terms of support, it will be in the area of feedstock. We have to discuss with him whether it's gas or crude oil feedstock and offtake. Government will guarantee some of these things.
On his part, Malam Kiari stated that NNPC was in the process of establishing 200,000 barrels per day condensate refineries to boost in-country refining capacity.
We are trying to put in some splitter units, or what we call the condensate refinery, to complement all this total about 200,000 barrels additional capacity that we're going to add. And probably in another 5 years, the 650 from the Dangote, 455 from NNPC, and additional 200, you are seeing us well above the 400 million barrels capacity.
Speaking in similar vein, the president of the Dangote Group, Mr. Aliko Dangote, who was on ground to receive the federal government team, said his group opted for the biggest refinery in the world because of its firm belief in the Nigerian project.
Nigeria is supposed to actually feed the entire West and Central Africa, and that's what we are trying to do. And that's why we went for this massive capacity.
The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief Timipre Silva, has called on the heads of agencies under his ministry to collaborate and ensure speedy implementation of all ongoing projects in the petroleum sector. Chief Silva, who made the call during the signing and adoption of the ministry's 2019 to 2023 priority project deliverables in Abuja, noted that the adoption of the ministry's 2019 to 2023 priority project and deliverables was one of the main achievements for the Q4 2019, as it formed the framework for the deliverables for the next years, even as it called on all the agencies and parastatal heads to take it seriously.
As leaders in Africa, we are leaders in other sectors too, but as far as oil is concerned, we are even more so because we are the biggest producer.
The acting head of service of the Federation and permanent secretary of the ministry, Dr. Folashade Yemieson, in her remarks, noted that the ministry's 2019-2023 priority projects and deliverables were geared towards achieving the economic diversification policy priority of the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari.
For the ministry to meet up with what Mr. President expects of it, we must put everything we have into the targets that have been set for each of us.
The 2019-2023 priority projects and deliverables accurately reflect the activities and objectives of the ministry in a compressed form to enable efficiency in the overall output of the strategic priorities. Respite may soon come the way of commuters at the Ijegun-Egba axis of Lagos State following a move by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) to partner with the Lagos State government, depot owners and petroleum tanker drivers to permanently address infrastructural challenges that have perennially hampered product evacuation from the area. This was disclosed by the group managing director of the corporation, Malam Kyari, during separate visits to tank farms at the Ijegun-Egba corridor, as well as the Lagos State Government House in Ikeja, Lagos. Malam Kyari, who emphasized the significance of Lagos as host to some of the nation's critical national assets, especially petroleum downstream infrastructure, stated that over 70% of white products are supplied into the country through Lagos. He said, as an enabler organization to the Nigerian economy, which also guarantees national energy security, the NNPC would continue to partner with stakeholders, such as the Lagos government, to sustain the current seamless supply and distribution of products nationwide going into the Yuletide period.
We have seen nothing to indicate that there's any constraint in terms of petroleum product supply and distribution. And NNPC and our partners and our tank farm owners and every other stakeholders in the downstream sector, where we know we are set and ready, our preparations are adequate, our planning is robust, and we foresee a very peaceful Christmas and into the new year and going further into the year.
While addressing tank farm operators at the Ijegun-Egba area, Kyari lauded their sacrifice of pulling resources together to fix the Ijegun road leading to the tank farms to ease movement of trucks in and out of the area. He said although it was a palliative solution, the NNPC and its stakeholders will put heads together to provide a permanent solution to the problems.
The depot owners in particular were able to pull their resources together to fix this road through the Nigerian Army Corps of Engineers, and they are doing an excellent job of it. And the result will be that there will be free movement of trucks out of this location to our locations all over the country.
Responding, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu expressed his support to NNPC and its stakeholders' initiative to tackle the infrastructure challenges, not only at Ijegun-Egba, but the entire state, adding that his administration will leave no stone unturned in tackling the challenges.
This is the first time all of the various stakeholders are coming together, to have a long-term view, in terms of our solutions going forward.
Also speaking, Chairman House Committee on Petroleum Downstream, Honorable Abdullahi Mahmoud Gaya, expressed the National Assembly's support to the initiative.
We assure Nigerians will make sure that we do everything possible to work with them to make sure that everything goes very easy for everybody.
On his part, Chairman Ijegun-Egba Depot Owners Association, Adibawale Olujimi, disclosed that 18 million liters of petroleum products are distributed from their facilities daily. He commended the GMD for his support while assuring him of their members' commitment to move the industry forward.
The collaboration in terms of what we need, in terms of support, we're already getting it from NNPC, the state government and every stakeholder. And the way things are going, for the end of the year to there would strictly be full, robust, and 24 hours operations out of here.
Also speaking while receiving the GMD in his palace, the Oba of Lagos, His Royal Majesty Oba Rilwan Akiolu I, called on the international oil companies operating in the country to do more CSR initiatives in their areas of operations.
All the IOCA group, please ensure that you can make them to successfully carry out their social responsibilities to every part of this country.
Other stakeholders on the GMD's entourage were the National President of the National Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers NUPENG, Comrade Williams Akwaria, and the Chairman, Petroleum Tanker Drivers PTD Unit of NUPENG, Comrade Salimon Oladiti.
Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation NNPC Group Managing Director Malam Mele Kyari has rallied staff of the corporation to commit themselves to efficiency in their work process. Malam Kyari gave the charge in Abuja when he engaged staff of the corporation.
With a focus, with a clear determination, with commitment of all of us, we can do many, many more great things. And there's high hope and expectation, both within the company on all of us, and also from our stakeholders, the owners of the company. They think we can do something different.
During the event, the GMD also launched the banners of the corporation's downstream company, the NNPC Retail Limited, with a view to positioning the company as a market leader in the product distribution subsector in the country. The managing director of NNPC Retail Limited, Sir Billy Okoye, called on Nigerians to always patronize NNPC retail stations as they were the best in the downstream business.
These stations are called retail outlets. They belong to Nigerians. They belong to you and me. It is imperative that we show brand loyalty, reinforcing the qualities. Our products are the best. Our prices are the cheapest. Our pump integrities are the best.
Other members of staff pledged their commitment to the Malam Kyari-led management.
Clearly, you can see one of the key things in the TEB, the transparency agenda. It has shown that he said, look, all the staff are at liberty, and then they are open to go and talk to him at any time. They can send him an email so that he will have feedback. So one of the key things is that he emphasized us on the feedback process.
It's gladdening to know that people had mentioned along the line that when they send emails, they actually get feedback from, which is a good management style, because the feedback helps every management to work harder, and it also helps you to re-strategize and helps you to align and be sure whether your subordinates are actually sharing the same vision with you.
I am particularly impressed by the commitment shown in the documentation of processes, then automation of these processes, and so that we have a kind of world-class organization that we aspire to be.
Because he's a very transparent person, it makes it easier for us to trust him, to believe in him, and to follow him in all the things that he has asked us to do.
We owe it to every Nigerian to account for whatever investment the federal government have put into the industry, and it is expected of us to make sure that it gets return on investment.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation NNPC has expressed its commitment to providing a healthy, safe working environment and work equipment to its workforce and other players in the oil and gas industry with a view to promoting their well-being. Group Managing Director of the corporation, Malam Mele Kyari, stated this while delivering a keynote address to herald the 2019 NNPC Health, Safety and Environment Week with the theme, Occupational Health Risk in a Changing Workplace, at the corporation's headquarters in Abuja. He explained that occupational health of workers required processes in which the NNPC manages the health and safety of its employees in the workplace with strong focus on prevention of hazards, adding that this would ultimately save lives, ensure social well-being, sustainable development and economic growth of the corporation.
We'll continue to take this message forward to all locations so that all leaders must make sure that our staff work on a very stable condition, and so that their families can have them back, and ultimately so that the whole country can benefit from their services.
On his part, the Chief Operating Officer, Corporate Services, Engineer Farouk Said, posited that the NNPC will put processes and structures in place that will guarantee a healthy work balance for its workforce.
We are undergoing a transformation process in NNPC with expansions in our operations. Many changes have taken place in the workplace over the last few decades, and many changes are projected into the future. It is therefore important that we strictly adhere to HSE best practice, which is critical to our transformational objectives.
In his welcome address, the General Manager, Group Health, Safety, Environment and Quality, Mr. Hussaini Ali, informed that changes and developments in the workplace have greater impact on the working conditions, job security, well-being and psychosocial health of members of staff.
We shall all contribute to achieving the 2030 UN Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals to ensure healthy lives and promote safety culture to all ages in the working environment.
The President, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industries, Mr. Babatunde Paul Ruwasi, has lauded the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) for its role as enabler in sustaining the nation's economy. He made this commendation at the NNPC Day of the 2019 Lagos International Trade Fair with the theme Connecting Business, Creating Value.
NNPC is very critical, really, when we talk about the economy of Nigeria, the oil and gas sector. It's very big. Its contribution to national economy cannot be understated.
Also speaking, the Group Managing Director of the NNPC, represented by the Managing Director NETCO, Mrs. Kate Iheme, highlighted some of the milestones of the corporation in exploration, production and reserves growth, inland drilling, renewable energy and processes put in place to revamp the nation's refineries.
In the years to come, we pledge to continuously strengthen this laudable collaboration with the LCCI and other stakeholders to deliver economic prosperity to all Nigerians.
Oil demand in highly industrialized countries will shift from slight growth to a decline after 2020, while India and China will ensure that global oil consumption will grow over the next decades. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries OPEC review of the industry has indicated. The outlook by the Vienna-based organization showed that global demand would reach 105.6 million barrels per day by 2025, which is 6.9 million barrels per day higher than 2018. That increase will mainly come from developing and emerging economies in the long run. India's industry and growing middle-class consumers will need 5.4 million barrels per day more oil by 2040, and China will need an additional 4.4 million barrels per day by that year, OPEC estimated. In contrast, wealthy economies including North America, Western Europe, Japan, South Korea and Oceania will consume 9.6 million barrels per day less, according to this long-term projection.
80% of our youths that are working today are engaged by MPDC and MPDC contractors. Most of the elders who still leave home today to do security job are working also with MPDC. Scholarship, most of our children are being engaged, are being given scholarship by MPDC.
NNPC, we touch your lives in many positive ways.
Hello, thanks for joining us again on the feedback segments of the program. My name is Julia Auta. The U-Tail is just a few weeks away and so many people would be traveling by air and land to visit loved ones and country homes. This week, our roving camera is zooming in views of what Nigerians expect from the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, as the U-Tail season approaches.
The present situation should continue, and that Nigerians should avoid panic buying at all, so that they don't store up fuel either while traveling or within town, because of the associated risks.
We're no longer expressing scarcity on any of the filling stations, but the fuel is a bit high. If they can actually reduce it to like 100 naira.
We expect that fuel will be available so that those of us who want to go and see our family and loved ones can travel without joining that queue that we used to know.
They should try and place a policy that will guide those transportation companies. That's the major thing, so that they can't be able to inflate the prices.
If they can continue working on the past, what they did in the past, that there was no fuel scarcity, I think that will be fine. And how will they do that? They have to monitor all the fuel stations.
For the past 3 years, there is improvement when it comes to distribution of fuel within the festive period. And we would like NNPC to not to rest on their hours, to step up and meet up whatever forms of challenges that might emanate.
They should increase their supply in all their sub and mega stations. They should make sure there is a rapid supply, more than what they used to give before ember months.
It goes to show that the NNPC is working assiduously to ensure constant and consistent supply and distribution of petroleum products across the country. Up next is Key Facts, and it has some eye-opening details for you.
Hello and welcome to this segment of the program. My name is Tola Ibobade. Did you know that the vision of NNPC is to be a world-class oil and gas company driven by shared commitments to excellence? Did you know that the mission of NNPC is to be an integrated oil and gas company engaged in adding value to the nation's hydrocarbon resources for the benefit of all Nigerians and other stakeholders? The core values of the corporation entail respect for individual, staff development and growth, integrity, transparency and accountability, and professional excellence. Did you also know that the corporation is transforming from a traditional oil and gas company into an integrated energy outfit with interest in power generation and transmission? Well, I'm glad you know now. Global Crude Oil Outlook is next.
Hello and welcome to Global Crude Oil Outlook. Oil prices rose amid new hints from China on progress towards a trade deal with the United States, offsetting downward pressure from a huge increase in U.S. crude stockpiles. Brent crude futures were up 33 cents or 0.5% per barrel to $62.31 after going up $1.22 per barrel or almost 2%. U.S. West Texas Intermediate WTI crude futures rose 37 cents or 0.7% from their last close to $56.72 per barrel. They settled 88 cents lower or 1.54% in the previous session. China's Commerce Ministry said that while Beijing and Washington still have to agree to simultaneously cancel some existing tariffs on each other's goods for both sides to reach a Phase 1 trade deal, they have agreed to cancel additional tariffs in different phases. And that provided a welcome boost to market sentiment after news that U.S. crude oil stockpiles rose 7.9 million barrels last week as refiners cut output and exports fell. That number trounced analyst expectations for an increase of 1.5 million barrels, the Energy Information Administration EIA said. Gasoline and distillate inventories dropped 2.8 million barrels and by 622,000 barrels respectively. U.S. crude exports fell nearly 1 million barrels last week to 2.4 million barrels per day. And that's it on this segment of the program. I am Ovigo Okolo.
NNPC is doing a great job. They have shown that they have the interest and commitment not only in their primary duties but also in building the community around them. They've created this platform to challenge students and also to reward them for academic excellence.
NNPC, we touch your lives in many positive ways.
That's how it's been in this package of oil and gas forum. Momentum still steady. Q4 2019. Fuel sufficiency assured going into the end of the year, into the new one. NNPC wishes you a profitable week ahead.